Now, last but not least, we'll talk about these chemical senses, and those are taste and smell. These are called chemical senses because whatever we taste or whatever we smell, these molecules have to dissolve in liquid or dissolve in something, changing the chemistry of them, and that's how we can either taste or smell. So, for example, in a case of eating, we have to dissolve food in saliva, changing the chemistry of the saliva, and that leads to the activation of taste buds. While in the case of smell, well, the molecules that we're smelling, those are going to have to mix in with the mucus, changing the chemistry of the mucus, and that's how, changing the chemical composition of mucus, and that again is how we stimulate our smell receptors, and hence the name chemical senses, because they have to change the chemical composition of different things. Okay, so we'll talk first about taste receptors. Taste or gustation, and you want to be familiar with both of those terms, occur because we have all of these taste buds that are found in the mouth. They're found they're found on the tongue, found on the inside of the cheeks, so the mucous membrane. They're even found in the throat as well. And you can see that these taste buds, I'll actually go to the picture to explain what they look like. So these elevations, if you look at the mirror, you can find these papillae. Okay, and these papillae are made out of an elevation, and then there are these depressions that have the taste buds. So the taste buds are kind of hidden in the lower portions of these papillae. These taste buds have basal cells. These basal cells are always multiplying through mitosis in order to replenish the taste receptors that we are always there's a lot of wear and tear in the oral cavity because of everything that we're eating, and these taste buds, these taste receptors tend to be damaged more frequently, and they have to be replaced. And they're replaced because of the mitotic division of these basal cells. Now, the gustatory or the taste cells, these have these little microvilli. Okay, so again, these microvilli are going to detect any changes in the chemistry of the saliva, and that's how they are stimulated. We do have different taste buds that pick up different things. So we have taste receptors for sweet, and those pick up sugar and sugar substitutes. We've got taste receptors for sour chemicals, and that, for example, acids like lemons and oranges, or salty things that we eat, like anything that's got sodium chloride in it, like chips and so on. Bitter receptors, those pick up poisonous substances such as arsenic. And then we've got umami. This was actually not discovered when I was studying in college, so it's a relatively recent receptor that was discovered. So umami picks up monosodium glutamate, which is really the kind of savoriness or flavor that is found more in Japanese and Chinese food. Okay, and it gives it its very characteristic taste, and it's due to the glutamate or glutamic acid and other amino acids that are found in there. Now for the olfactory receptors. The olfactory receptors are found in the olfactory epithelium, which is the mucous membrane that lines the nose, the inside of the nose, and it's towards the upper part of the nasal cavity. And again, these receptors can only really survive for a couple of months, and then they would have to be continuously replaced. They're replaced from the stem cells that are found in the olfactory epithelium. They also have cilia, and these cilia, again, detect changes in the chemistry of the mucus. And these are going to lead to the activation of cranial nerve 1. The first cranial nerve is, in fact, the olfactory nerve. And you can see here, so this is the inside of the nasal cavity. This right here underneath it is the oral cavity. And the receptors, or the olfactory epithelium, is found all the way up here. So this is the nostril, and when you want to smell something, if you want to get smell a good odor, you would sniff it in. Okay, and that is in order to get those molecules all the way up here, so that again, you can see these hair cells or those cilia that are embedded within the mucus, that blue mucus layer. When those odorous molecules come all the way up here that will change the chemistry of the mucus, and that would lead to the stimulation of that cilia. Remember, we are talking about a special sense. So special senses are bipolar cells. Here again, you can see that cell. Here you can see the peripheral process, and this is the central process. So all of these central processes have to go through this bony part. That bony part is known as the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. You can see them kind of, all perforating there and gathering together into an olfactory bulb. That olfactory bulb will then send the olfactory nerve into the cerebral cortex. Remember that the sense of smell is the only sense that does not go to the thalamus. So from nose to brain right away. Okay, so and again, for humans to detect an odor, these molecules would have to diffuse into the air, pass into the nose, and then go to the olfactory epithelium. There's mucus there, so we'd have to dissolve in the mucus, and then that would lead to the stimulation of the cilia. Stimulant odors receptors are in the form, they're G protein mediated receptors, and they're going to increase the intracellular C-amp. We have the ability to differentiate between, we've got 400 different kinds of olfactory receptor types. And when you mix and match them, that means that as an individual, we are able to at least differentiate between 10,000 different odors, which is pretty impressive. What are the factors that affect the sense of smell? So first off, attentiveness. So how aware are you? How much are you concentrating on that kind of odor? Hunger increases the sense of smell, okay, and that is considered a survival skill. Gender. Women is found, generally speaking, to have a keener sense of smell. I can tell you, though, that this is not true in my, personal family, okay? My sense of smell is much less than my husband, but generally speaking, women do have a better sense of smell than men do. Smoking damages the olfactory epithelium, and that would lead to, obviously, the decrease in the sense of smell. As we age, we are also losing these receptors. We gradually lose the ability to differentiate between different odors. And also the state and the health of the olfactory mucosa. So patients that have, say, chronic allergies, okay, that dryness that they experience for longer periods of time, that is going to lead to the decrease in the sense of smell. Even if you get a flu or a cold and you're congested, you could tell that your sense of smell has decreased. And know that a lot of what you taste has a lot to do with smell. So if you got allergies or you got a cold and you're congested, you lose your sense of smell, and you also lose your sense of taste. Not because there's anything wrong with your taste buds, but because about 50% of taste is really related to smell. Now, the inability to smell, that loss of smell due to a genetic defect, where some patients are born with this genetic defect, where there's a total lack of the ability to smell, that is known as anosmia. And there's a syndrome known as Kalman syndrome, which is another genetic disorder where the olfactory bulbs fail to form. So remember, these olfactory bulbs right here, in Kalman syndrome, these bulbs do not form. And there's also failure to form parts of the hypothalamus related to the formation of sex hormones and the regulation of these sex hormones. And that's why they have that mix of anosmia with irregularities of their sex hormones. Now, this ends this chapter. I will see you later.